I believe very strongly that the truth sets us free. And so when we can look at the truth and be really, really honest, it helps us make a more aligned decision. This woman was an angel in my life because she listened to me and then she grabbed me by the shoulders and said, look, I understand you're really busy right now and you've got your hands full. But someday these kids are going to grow up and they're going to be in school. You're going to have a little bit more time on your hands and you will wish that you had done something with these gifts and these talents that you have. The way you can affect that future is in the present moment. So in a sense, you time travel to the future, you come back to the now, you make the decision that I am going to be him right now. And this is not fake it till you make it. It is very different.
We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast,
where we talk about entrepreneurship, mindset, and of course, how to turn your content into profit.
But most importantly, we are here to have a good time with you, baby.
That is right. Please don't forget to go to contentisprofit.com to get started today and join the community.
Well, that was supposed to be my thing.
Did we just switch parts on the intro?
Hey, that's so good. Hey, what are we talking about today, Fonz?
Great question, guys. Today we're talking about closing the gap between your potential and your reality. This is a juicy topic. I'm very excited.
I know.
And just because for the last 21 days, I've actually been doing like this challenge. It's called the Breakthrough Challenge.
Yes.
And I've been doing a lot of work, and I think this just fits perfectly.
As soon as you sent me this headline, a lot of scenarios started happening in my head of things that had happened. Manifestation, different things, and like what's happening right now. So I think this is a perfect timing. Things happen for a reason. It's always the best reason. Fonzi, do we have a sponsor today?
Indeed, we do. Thank you for the question, good sir. And
You're
today's
welcome.
Sponsor is your own, the BIZBROS. Yes, we sponsor our own podcast with content momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is content momentum? Well, if you need a fractional content team so you can get daily consistent content, we are here to help you out. Just slide in the DMs at BIZBROS Co. on Facebook, on Instagram.
That's right. And if this show is useful to you, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays, these episodes are dropping in your favorite podcasting platform. So go ahead, give us a follow, and also a little review in there as well.
That is right. And if today's guest help you move one step forward towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode with 3 friends. That, my friend, is your ticket of admission. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
I hope you're ready for a magical episode. And I'm not talking about Harry Potter kind of magic. This is all about you bringing your magic into the world.
That's right. Today's incredible guest has previously coached not 1, but 2 Content is Profit guests and was recommended by our good friend and Content is Profit Hall of Famer Brian Bogert. This conversation today is going to be epic.
That's right. And check this out. Today's guest has built a global multi-million-dollar business. She's a renowned product designer and has been in the Today Show, The Ellen Show, and has also been in the cover of the Entrepreneur magazine. I'm not sure if you already know this, but she is the real deal.
That is right. Please welcome host of the What's Working Now podcast, probably your next coach, and the best golden curls you'll ever see in your life, Katie Richardson! What's up, Katie?
Hey, Luis and Fonzi. Super excited to be here. Thank you. That was a fantastic intro.
Oh, thank you. We try to level it up on Fridays, you know?
Yes. Katie, by the way, you're joining us today from a little bit of a tropical, situation. Normally, we're the tropical people here. And so share a little bit about where you are and, the cool things that have been happening in your life lately.
Yeah. So my family has lived in the Pacific Northwest for quite a few years. And 3 weeks ago, we literally just packed our bags and moved to Puerto Rico. So I'm literally on the beach in Puerto Rico in my penthouse condo apartment right now, talking to you guys. Seriously, just loving the sunshine and the ocean and the waves and just the energy that you feel when you're in the Caribbean.
I love it. Hold on. Sorry. Normally people are like, hey guys, like you guys are in Florida. We're so jealous of you. And like now it's flipped because we have like this winter front coming our way. And this is why I'm wearing this like sweater. And it's like, what? It's going to be like 30 degrees tonight. And you're there in Puerto Rico. So I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that
I was going to say, Katie, you are like fully Puerto Rican already. As when we had the music, you were like, dancing in the back, and I was like, hey, she is right at home
I'm
over
working
there.
on it.
But Katie,
Yeah.
let's start this awesome conversation. I've been waiting for this for about 2 weeks now. I'm like, this is gonna be super exciting.
You're being too modest.
And
for about a year.
Coincidentally, today is the last day of that challenge that I was just mentioning before, right? That breakthrough challenge. And I think this conversation fits perfectly right now. So for those that don't know you, for those that, are asking, who is Katie, right? Can you share a little bit about where you come from? How did you get to where you are right now?
Sure. So I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. When I graduated high school, I went to Brigham Young University and drifted around for almost 2 years in college before I finally made a decision on what to major in. And I finally found this major called product design. And it was basically, I could go and do woodworking and welding and learn how to design and create things that didn't exist before. And I was like, that sounds really cool. It was like school for inventors. And jumped into the major and really thrived and won national awards and won scholarships from General Motors, studied product design, graduated, met my husband there, who also is an incredible product designer. And my vision and dream for my life and future was always to be a mother, have a family, certainly to get a college degree. But I really, honestly, if I'm really honest with you guys, I really hadn't thought much beyond that. Like in my mind, I think in a lot of ways it was like, once you get to that point and you start having kids, you just put it into cruise control. And I tried to do that. Like I tried to just put it into cruise control. And as somebody who is creative and likes making things and inventing, it just... I loved being a mother, but there was a piece of me that was not being utilized. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of frustrating. And I kept trying to just be okay with continuing to be in the cruise control. And it just, something about it didn't feel right. And one day, as a young mother with 2 kids, I was in a children's boutique, and the boutique owner attacked me, basically, and was like, where'd you get all this stuff? And she was pointing to products that I had made. And I was telling her how busy she said, I want you to make all these things for me. And I'm like, what? And I'm like going way too much into my story here.
No,
Long story short, I'll tell you that story in a second. But ultimately what ended up happening, and I want people to see this. What I ended up doing was building a multi-million-dollar international business. I got featured on the Ellen Show, the Rachel Ray Show, the Today Show. I ended up on the cover of Entrepreneur Magazine. Like I accomplished and achieved things I never imagined possible for me. And like even now, I'm living here on a Caribbean island with my family. And it's all because I was willing to follow my curiosity. And that is my story in a nutshell. I'm a woman who's open to seeing and receiving and understanding who God created me to be. That's what I'm so curious about. And because as I explore that, and I'm willing to open new doors and even shut other doors and walk through that new door, really incredible things open up for me that maybe I couldn't even ever imagine before. So ultimately, like I said, I built a big global business, ended up selling that business 5 years ago. And now I coach other entrepreneurs in their business.
Wow.
The reason I do this, here's the reason I do what I do. As I started down the road of entrepreneurship, I came face to face with these difficult questions. And I really felt like I was in this double bind. It was like God had called me to do something great. And clearly I had gifts and talents in my skill set of design. Because like I said, I had won awards and scholarships, and I was just putting that all aside. And at the same time, I knew that I also had this kind of eternal divine calling of being a mother. And that was really important to me.
Yeah.
And so I felt like the two were not compatible. And it kind of scared me. And I kept getting these opportunities to develop my talents, whether that's build a business, or it looked like a lot of different ways. And I didn't know how to do them both. And I was like, they're not compatible. I'm just going to have to say no to the whole business thing. And luckily, I'm a woman of faith. And as I'm bringing all of this to prayer and scripture study, I had a new thought. And the new thought was, Katie, you know design, and maybe you don't see the model or the woman who proves to you that it's possible to build a business and be the kind of mother that you want to be. maybe you don't see that model, but you know design, you can create that.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And so I approached business from a totally different way with my own set of rules. And I was really true to those rules. And not only was I able to be the kind of mother that I want to be and continue to grow and develop in a beautiful relationship with my husband and continue to grow in my faith, what surprised me is my business thrived as I stayed true to those principles. And, you know, like I said, achieved some really incredible things, all while also being the kind of wife and mother and woman of faith I always wanted to be. And so that's my story. And today, that's what I'm so passionate about, is teaching that operating system to other entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Ooh, I love it. I love the whole story. And just so you know, you got me here thinking about going back to school and take product design. I'm like, that sounds like such a cool career.
It's so cool.
It
so
does.
Cool.
So just so you know, a little background on us. We already shared that we're from Venezuela, right? So we came here on a soccer scholarship. And back home, we have a saying. It's like, if you don't know what to study, just go to business school, right? So that was pretty much us. We're like, we just want to play soccer professionally. I'm just going to go to business school, get it done with. But also we have a few limitations as international students, right? So when I graduated from my first, 6 years, I was like, well, I need, like, how am I going to stay here in the US, right? Like, you have so many rules. So for me, I was like, well, let me go back to school again. But honestly, I didn't have, like, I wasn't passionate, or I didn't have the information at hand of what were my opportunities at school, something that maybe would, get me passionate about sitting in a classroom and learning. So I was like, I'm just going to do advertising, whatever. That lasted like 6 months. I stopped going to class. I was like, entrepreneurship, here I go. And we just dove straight head on into our own ventures. And now here we are. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. I really love, and I love the passion, and I love how you seek your own path, how you started asking your questions. You said you are curious, right? Like, your curiosity led you to where you are. And I feel like a lot of people think we have to give up something to gain something else. But I feel like your curiosity was like, there must be a way to actually achieve both things, right? Like, why do I need to give up something that I really love or that I really want in the future, right, for another thing? So I'm a little bit curious on the thought process there, and also on what were you feeling on that moment? Because I feel like sometimes the feelings are so intense when you are, when you have those questions in front of you, that it just fogs your mind, and it's very difficult to actually ask the right questions.
Right. Yeah. So what was I feeling in that moment? I was feeling like I should be okay with what I have, and I shouldn't want more. I was feeling like I should follow the path that I'm supposed to follow and, be a good girl in a sense. I was feeling like I was afraid to tell my truth, which was there was a big piece of me that didn't have space or room to play as a mother. And like, I was doing incredible things with my kids as a designer and a creative. I remember one day, we were living on such little income at the time, by the way. That's what you do when you're an entrepreneur, right? So when we had like no money and I was spending no more than $120 a month on groceries, I remember wanting to do crafts with my kids, and I just looked around in the recycle bin and I pulled out some yogurt lids and an old milk jug. And I could see how if I cut up the milk jug and cut the lids a certain way, I could make this elephant hat. And so yes, I was using my creativity and showing my kids how to be resourceful, and that's awesome and that's great. But I wanted to take what I was doing in my home, and which was teaching my kids true principles, and was being a light to my children and helping them see the greatness within them. I wanted to take that and I wanted to leverage it into the world. Yeah. And I think throughout most of history, that would have been a pipe dream, right? It wasn't possible. You and I, we live in the most amazing time in the history of the world. We can literally connect with everybody for pennies using this device that we fit into our pocket. And that unlocks so much possibility. And I felt like, I mean, again, this was like 2008, 2009 when I first started my business. Facebook, I don't even know if Facebook existed. Maybe just weird high school kids were on it. But so much of what we use to grow our business today didn't exist. And so I had to be creative, but I really felt like there was something inside of me that was unique and special to me, and that nobody else in the world today or ever had that magic that was inside of me. Because I could see it in my kids, I could see it in my husband, I could see it in the people that I would meet. Like each and every one of us has something that's unique and special within us. And I thought there's got to be a way to share that into the world and inspire others to see their magic. And so I just was curious about it. And like, even at the time, I wouldn't say that I was committed to a lot of these things. I wasn't okay setting it down. And as I looked into the future of, okay, what if I went down that road of saying, you know, now's not the time, Katie, and you need to set this down and you need to 100% focus on your kids and do nothing else. As I played that out, I couldn't set it down. And I kept asking the question, well, what if? Like, what if there was a way? And what if I was the one who figured that out? And I could show my kids what's possible for them. And I had this experience, actually, I was starting to tell you it, and I'll share it with you now. As I was kind of exploring some of these things, and by the way, like, I was really unsure of myself at the time. I was the fourth of 6 kids, and I think it's kind of typical when you're in the middle to kind of be invisible or feel invisible. You kind of become a very self-sufficient individual. And I grew up feeling like that invisibility was a superpower. But as you start to grow up and you start to feel invisible in high school and college, like, it's kind of stings. And I had just accepted that I was just the girl who blends in with the background. I know you guys are like, Katie, you don't now today, but I used to. I used to blend in, and that was my comfortable place. And so, going along with all of this, let me tell you this story of when I was contemplating the idea of building a business, or at least just putting my ideas out into the world. That was it. Like, it wasn't even a business at the time. It was just like, I had ideas and a sewing machine. That was it. Like, that's how I got started. And so my husband is working his job. I'm home with 2 young kids, and we just had to get out of the house. And so I threw the kids in the car and we went to this really cute but high-end, kind of expensive children's boutique that my friend had told me about. And I couldn't afford to shop there, but I was like, I just want to go look. I just want to get out of the house. And so I'm at this children's boutique. I've got my 2-year-old in a like $9 stroller that I bought at Target. And my infant was in a baby carrier that I had sewn on my mom's 1962 Bernina, but it was my design. And so I'm in this store shopping, trying to be a wallflower, right? I didn't want to stick out. And the store owner comes over to me and she says, hey, where'd you get all this stuff? And I'm like, kind of shy and embarrassed. I'm like, what is she talking about? And so I even asked her that. I said, what do you mean? And she points to a baby hat, baby shoes, a blanket, and the baby carrier. All things that I had designed and sewn myself on the sewing machine while my kids were napping. And I was a little bit surprised and still embarrassed. And I said, oh, you like those? I made them. And she was like, you made these? I said, yeah. And she goes, I go to all the trade shows and this is hot. I want you to make it for me.
Wow.
And all of my excuses started to pop up. And as I look back on it, it's because I had like tried to fit myself into a little box, which was, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And I was trying to stay in that box. And so as she said she wanted me to make those for her, that would mean I have to like work and, I don't know, make a business and figure out how to charge her for the products that I'm making her. I didn't know the answer to all of those things. And so I started to give her all of my excuses. This woman was an angel in my life because she listened to me and then she grabbed me by the shoulders and said, look, I understand you're really busy right now and you've got your hands full. But someday these kids are going to grow up and they're going to be in school. You're going to have a little bit more time on your hands, and you will wish that you had done something with these gifts and these talents that you have. And you guys, in that moment, she gave me such a huge gift, because what she did is she transported me into my future, which when you're a busy mom and you've got kids at your ankles, you're like never able to go into the future, right? You're like, oh, fine, what do you want to eat? She transported me into the future and helped me feel the sting of regret that I would feel. And I wanted to ignore it. I did. Like, I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to face it. But I mentioned it to my husband later that night, and he's very enterprising. He's an incredible guy. And he was like, Katie, she's right. You got to do something about it. And so I started to give him all of my excuses. And he's like, look, this is what he said to me. And this has been my mantra like my whole life. He's like, look, I know we have those questions, but just tell her yes and we'll figure those things out. And honestly, you guys, that's how I built a multi-million-dollar business.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what a great story.
Yeah. Please keep talking. We'll ask questions. Just keep going. When you were telling that story, there's a few situations that we can't relate to. Maybe not creating the product, but when we were out there and people were like, oh, wow, you guys are doing X, Y, Z. Can you guys do this for us? And immediately all these excuses come to our heads, right? Whenever we decided to publish, right? Like, that was such a big thing. We were part of a mastermind, and our coach was like, you guys have to put your voice out there, man. Like, look at this. Like, you just had a very negative experience because you guys have nothing out there. And in our heads was like, no, like the excuse or the equipment or the thing. And I don't know what to say. And like, it's so scary, and my accent and blah, 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 right? And then a few 45 live challenges, which that's like our main thing. We did 45 days straight of Facebook lives. And then this show is episode 241. Like, we go back and we're like, wow. And it was very similar to where like, you just like say yes, commit, and then, you know, you move forward. And it is beautiful, the things that happen after, you know. You said something earlier, by the way, thanks for sharing. But you said something earlier about cruise control. And I relate a lot to that in my private life, for example, right? Sometimes we're in these situations that might seem comfortable, but it's not quite the thing that you want. That you have like this feeling, this voice talking in your ear, like, oh, you should do this. But you're like, oh, but I kind of feel a little bit good, and the things are moving forward. I don't want to mess it up, but I know it might not be right, right? Sometimes when you might have a day job and then you're creating this company, for a lot of the people that are listening with us, for example, before we even started this company, right? Like, it is scary. What, like, it can look scary. It can be like, for me, it was like massive, like it was scary, especially, I mean, the last 2 years, I have a 2-year-old, right? And we went full time with BIZBROS when that 2-year-old was born, right? So, you know, bless my wife. She was like, okay, go, man. That was like, jump to the cliff, like head first. Yeah. So, at the time, it was like after like 5 years-ish of trying different things, and we finally found the thing that we're really good at and that we really enjoyed it. But for those who are trying to figure out, like, how do they make that decision? Like, does it have to come? For me, it was a very extreme moment in my life where I was like, I was so over everything else, and it just built up to that decision, right? Does it have to be that way? Like, how do you make that decision without getting to that point, right?
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is making sure that whatever it is that you're leaping to do, that it's something you're really passionate about and that energizes you. So for me, like when I made that decision and made the leap, which by the way, like my husband quit his job and we launched our first national product 2 weeks after having my third baby. So like, I get it. Yeah. But the first thing is you've got to make sure you have a skill set that is marketable and that excites you, like that lights you up. So for me, I was making products where when my kids were napping, like I should have been sleeping, but it actually energized me even more to stay up and to work on these things. And so like taking the ideas that I had in my mind and holding them in my hand and doing what was required in between there, like that excites me to come up with an idea, sketch it out, figure out how to make it, how you prototype it, how you manufacture it, and then actually eventually getting to the point where you're holding it in your hand. Like that really excites me. And to know that my ideas are in somebody else's hands and that they are getting to benefit from that. I had seen it on a really small scale, right? I had made things for other people, friends and neighbors, and so I got to experience that.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I'm going to say is you've got to make sure that you're moving forward on something that you're really passionate about, because you're going to lose sleep on it sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to work really, really hard at it. And it's got to be something that you just are so excited about. That's the first thing.
Yes.
And then the second thing I would say is you and I both have talked about those thoughts like that kind of hold us back, right? What if it goes wrong? And what if it doesn't end up being big like I want it to be? And what if people don't end up buying it? And what if it totally flops? We have these thoughts that I believe come from a place that keeps us small. And it keeps us in our comfort zone. Here's Katie 101. I believe you and I are infinite, and that we are here in this physical body, and it's a vehicle for us to grow and develop as these infinite beings. And this body, it needs sleep, it needs food, it needs exercise, it gets tired, it gets hungry, and you've got to make sure that body has what it needs. And so in order for you to be able to move forward on your dreams, you first have to make sure that you're meeting your physical needs.
Yeah.
But to really take that leap, you've got to understand that there's a much greater purpose for what you're doing than just making money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so for me, like my coaching, I really feel like my business is a vehicle for me to become who God created me to be. And as I approach my coaching in that way, it helps me help my clients. It helps me grow and stretch. So when you're at that edge of the cliff and you're starting to ask that question, is now the time? Do I make the leap? Do I jump? You want to start asking yourself, who do I want to be? Do I want to be the guy who stayed at the edge of the cliff for 2 more years and who is still living in that pain of regret? Or do I want to be the guy who made the decision to jump and knew that he was jumping into the unknown, but realized that he can't answer those questions until he's in the unknown because he doesn't know the questions, right? So I made that decision. Like I kept pushing it off and I was trying to stay comfortable. But what I started to learn is there's no growth in the comfort zone. And I wanted to grow. And conversely, there's no comfort in the growth zone. So I quickly started to seek out uncomfortable opportunities. And that's what helped me find the next opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. This is we're about to go very deep. I mean, we're already going deep. I hope everybody got their scuba diving equipment on them.
We know your kids do. Now I don't know the audience have the equipment.
But I love that, right? I'm pretty sure most people here have heard that, to grow, you got to step out of your comfort zone. But I love the way you put it, right? And the way you phrase these questions. And this actually aligns a lot to, again, the challenge that I've been doing lately, right? And it talks a lot about identity. And I know identity is one of the topics that I think you're passionate about. I might have not heard a few podcast episodes, that you've been in. And you guys were talking a lot about that. But before I get into identity, right, you talk about that feeling of having something special and unique inside of you. Right. And I'm sure everybody has felt it at some point, or at least everybody chasing an entrepreneurial journey. Right. I'm sure they felt it. Wow. Like, I know I have the potential. Right. Like it has happened in my life where, I'm not in the best situation and I'm talking to my girlfriend. Right. We live together and I'm like, babe, don't worry. I'm going to make it happen. Like I can feel it inside of me. Like I know it's going to happen. I don't know how, but I'm going to make it work. Right. And I mean, I truly believe it, right? But at times it's so difficult, right? And I think we go back to the headline of today's episode, right? Which is closing that gap between your potential and your reality. Like your reality seems so far away from what you believe your potential to be, right? So how do we start? And I think this ties a little bit to that, what you just mentioned, to identity and who do I want to become, right? Taking that leap. But how do we start closing that gap to not just believe that we have the potential, but so we can actually feel that potential becoming a reality?
Yeah. The answer to this is actually not complicated. And sometimes it's the most simple things in life that can actually be the most profound. So I'm going to invite people to really pay attention to this, because this is the formula. Again, it's not complicated, but that does not mean that it's easy to do. In order to create the vision and the dream that you dream of, there's two phases of creation. There is first the spiritual creation, and then there is the physical creation. So you have to first start with the physical, and you can create in the spiritual. You can create spiritually in different ways. I mean, a really good example is just an idea that pops into your head, and you start to see that idea. As a product designer, I can turn that idea around in my head, pull it apart. I can start to explore different manufacturing processes for that idea. But you have to start to envision the idea. And we use words, language, colors, textures, lots of different things to begin to define this idea. And so you first have to define the idea. And you can do it by drawing. You can do it with words. You can do it, pull things out of your recycle bin to start to define it. But you've got to start to form and create the idea that hasn't previously existed, right? And to your point, we can do this with us. Like, this is what I did with me. In order to build the business that I built, I had to create the woman who could build that. And so I had to start to envision her in my mind. And I would do this just by kind of imagining in the future. So a woman who has kids, is committed in her faith, takes care of her health, isn't frazzled at every conversation, and makes really incredible things and ships them all over the world. I started to play around with what would that potentially look like? And you can start to look for examples and models. For me, I couldn't find that woman, by the way. Like, I was looking around, I couldn't find her. And so you have to start forming and creating what that would potentially look like. The second piece of this is, I mean, there's lots of phases of this. I'm hyper simplifying this, but there's that spiritual creation. And then there is the physical creation. A lot of people use the word manifestation. To me, this is taking what has existed only in idea or spirit and literally pulling it into reality. So when it comes to you, Luis or Fonzie, that means envisioning your future self, what it would look like to be the CEO of a $7, $10, $20 million company, or even just $1 million, honestly. And then making the decision now, here's the key right here, making the decision right now to be him and take action as him right now. So as you look into the future and you observe his interactions, his relationships, the decisions that he makes, what he prioritizes in his life, as you observe those things in your mind, as you look into the future, the only way you can affect that future is in the present moment. So in a sense, you time travel to the future, you come back to the now, you make the decision that I am going to be him right now. And this is not fake it till you make it. It is very different. Fake it till you make it is pretend to be something that you're not. I'm talking about making a decision and a choice to be him now. And to speak as him, and you literally pull him into your reality. It is a decision, it is a choice, and it is absolutely transformational. And as you make that decision, there's a piece inside of you that has to die to make room and space for this future self that didn't exist until now, until you made the choice and took that action.
Ooh, I love this. I'm getting like goosebumps right now.
I just kicked it right behind me. Sorry, Fonzie.
No. Let me go. Yeah, let me go real quick.
It's not a question. Can I add?
All right, okay. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Resonates so much. I remember our mother. We believe we're like our minds is where you are, Katie. Because here's the thing. Like you know a little bit, right? We grew up in Venezuela. Soccer is not the main sport, it's baseball. We sucked at baseball. The dream was to play professional soccer at some point. And I am convinced that we manifested the opportunity to go play in Italy when I was 15, and then in Spain when I was 18 for full years, and then get a D1 soccer scholarship in the States, everything paid. That was manifested, and the decision was made because every single night I had an exercise where I envisioned myself in that stadium. And, you know, for a Venezuelan that has very little contacts, like the environment was not set up for this person to get there. And I got to the city I really wanted to be, which was Barcelona, right? What happened after, like, it's different, right? But I've seen both faces. I've seen in that period of my life when I really knew what I wanted, right? The vision was easily pulled, and I was doing it as a kid growing up because I felt really passionate about the sport. I made a decision later, right? And we both went through this kind of situation in different times in our lives, but the outcome is very similar. When went to college, graduated, and then we're like, well, now what? Soccer's not there anymore, right? It got us through this period of our life. What are we going to be doing now? And that's when we started experimenting and see, okay, what are we doing? And in part why we became entrepreneurs and we want to build businesses and after many ideas. But because we couldn't really see that vision. We're like, I don't really know what I like now. Like I'm an experimenting version. Like it just was this downfall spiral where roller coaster that we mentioned at the very beginning with like very good experiences and then very like deep downs. And it was like, what's going on? Right. And by listening to you now, this is huge help, not just for us, but the people also listening, whether that's publishing or in business, because it's a good reminder. I'm like, okay, it's not the thing, right? That I want is the person that I want to really become, right? The thing that we do might be the vehicle, like you mentioned earlier, to get there. So this business might be the vehicle to get into the next vehicle, to go into the other thing, right? So now, for example, I don't know FONZI, but like I do have a 2-year-old and I have a second one on the way.
I'm pretty sure I don't have a 2-year-old
okay,
too.
Okay. Just saying. Okay.
Like,
That we know. But you know, it's now my priorities when Luca was born completely shifted, right? And it was like Latin day. It was like April 15th. That's when he was born, and everything changed. And I'm like, okay, I gotta figure this out, right? And that has been the journey of the last 2 years. And in part, I think is that's the process. So you clarified it in a way. That's why you saw us taking notes, and we're gonna like reprocess this, and it's gonna be like in front of my mirror every single morning, because it's like, okay, who's that person I really want to be? Pull him in, and it's not the things that we have now. These are just vehicles to move forward, and I think that's so important, not only in life but also in the business sense, right? To kind of like these micro transactions that you do with yourselves, or even publishing. Like, what is the vision, right? What is the thing that I want to create? Yeah. Walk backwards, we act that way, we publish that way, and then we will continue to move forward. So very helpful. Thank you so much. That deserves a golden boulder moment. Just gonna put that out there. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Katie. Yes.
Katie, so first I'm gonna put this out there. I need to are you familiar with who Seth Ellsworth is by any chance?
I am not.
All right, I need to connect you two, because that conversation would be mind-blowing. I can't wait for that conversation.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'll definitely introduce you guys. But this is what I heard right now, right? Life is a collection of the choices we've made, right? So if we see it that way, what's most important is not the choice that we took in the past or the choices that we're taking in the future, was that the choices that we're actually taking right now, right? And then you said we gotta commit to those choices, right? And again, doing this challenge, and Seth is the guy that put this thing together, right? He talks about committed identity-based choice, and that's what you're talking about, going into the future, seeing who is that person that you really want to become, right? And then you need to be that person right now and make those decisions as if you are that person already. And yes, that's gonna cause discomfort.
Not even as if. Can I jump in really quick?
Of course.
It's not as if. It's different, and I want to emphasize this. It's not as if. It's because you're taking those actions because you've made the decision. I cannot underemphasize the significance and the importance of choice.
Because you are, right? It's like I make this decision because I am. Like I am that person now. I love it.
Yeah. Yes.
So, Yeah, exactly. You obviously, thank you so much. Appreciate that. So when I see this, right, when I was going through this whole last 21 days, this experience, you know, like my brother mentioned, we've known about The Secret, right? Manifestation, going into the future and visualizing your things. And I think there's a very big issue. I'm gonna tag it that way. Issue that I think most people don't realize is that when sometimes they visualize those things in the future and then they come back into the present, they still deep inside in their subconscious are thinking, okay, that is where I want to go, right? That's who I want to be, but I'm not that person yet, right? And when they're thinking that, then you're acting accordingly to that identity and you're not making the right choices to get there. So I want to, like you said, simplification is like the ultimate sophistication, right? So I want to just put it in terms of content creation. There's a lot of people that have a lot of friction to get in front of the camera, aka we were those people at one point, right? For us, we did a 45-day challenge where we decided to go live on Facebook for 45 days in a row. But now looking at that, you know, let's make the choice. At that time, we made the choice of showing up daily because we wanted to become that person. We said, you know, we got to be those person right now. We are those guys that publish, right? And I think that is a big issue with the people that try to get in front of the camera. They're like, yes, I would love to have all the content in the world, my personal brand, but I'm afraid of showing up in camera, right? And it's because there's that gap in both identities, the one that you see yourself in now and the one that you would like to see yourself in the future, right? So how do people take those committed choices right now? How do we, you know, break through that?
I believe very strongly that the truth sets us free. And so when we can look at the truth and be really, really honest, it helps us make a more aligned decision. When you look around your life and your reality right now, and especially if you're not happy with your current circumstances, you have to understand that your current reality, whether that's where you're at in your job or how far along your side hustle is or your current relationships, you've got to take full ownership of the fact that you have created those things. Yeah. And your current reality is a reflection of decisions that you have made in the past. The reality is made up from those decisions from the past. If you want to change your current reality, you have to make new decisions. You have to let go of the past. And you have to step into what I call faith. So if you're making decisions based on your current reality, you are perpetuating your past. Why? Because your current reality is made up from the decisions from your past. This is why we're telling the truth. Once you can begin to see this, you understand how much power and influence you have over your reality. And you step into this place of playing and having fun and asking yourself, what can I even dream? Because you start to see that life is here to be fun. And it is here for you to mold and shape. There's an incredible video that has like a bajillion views. It's Steve Jobs doing a commencement speech in, what's the university?
I think it's Stanford. No, I think it was like the one commencement speech that, it's like the one that he did. That's it. Yeah.
Yes. But I'm actually not even talking about that one. I'm talking about a different one. That one's really good. But I wanted to talk about a different video where he's talking about once you realize that life can be molded and shaped and that you can poke and something's going to pop out the other side. Like when you start to really realize that you are the creator of your life, you start to move into a totally different world. And instead of trying to play by the rules and fit in this little box, right? Like what I was trying to do. Yeah. You start to say, well, what do I want my life to look like? And what do I want reality to be? And what kind of business do I want to create? And what kind of products and services do I want to put out into the world? And when you start to ask those kind of questions and then be honest with yourself, life starts to look very different because you start making new decisions. Yeah. And you're no longer perpetuating the past, right? And you are moving into this place of faith, which is, yes, my current circumstances don't reflect where I'm going, but that does not limit what I'm doing right now. And so when you can accept your current reality, accept that you are a creator of that, and make the decision that now from a place of awareness, you're going to consciously create, because previously you were subconsciously creating. Now that you're consciously aware that you are the creator of your reality, you don't have to perpetuate the past, and you can make new decisions. I had an incredible conversation with one of my CEOs today, one of my clients. He had a very difficult decision to make, and he wanted to make the easier decision, which was to do a deal that he knew was going to go sour, but it would preserve relationships. He wouldn't have to have the uncomfortable conversations. I had him get still for a moment and tell the truth. And the truth was, he did not want to be partnered with this guy. And once he told the truth, I said, what needs to happen? He started to see what needed to happen. He needed to have some uncomfortable conversations. Why is he willing to do this? Because he wants the freedom of not being partnered with this guy who's not being honest, by the way. And so when we can take the time to be still, tell the truth, and even align with our values, and then make decisions and take action from that place, even though it's going to be uncomfortable, you get to open a new door of opportunity, and your reality becomes what you had only previously dreamed of.
So powerful. By the way, I put it here, the notes is going to be right below, but minute 41, just go back and replay this whole thing and save it.
I mean, we're definitely going to make a clip of this segment.
And if you're interested, we'll send it through DMs. Here's my question, right? As you're explaining this, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the thing that I need to listen like every single day. So that's in part why we're doing the clip too, just to put it on repeat. Because we've been coached. Right now we're trying to choose like who's that. We have an amazing relationship with a coach right now that's not going anywhere. Like it's like we're gonna keep him as a coach, but we're like, okay, what are the areas in our life that we might need to keep looking for this help, right? And we truly believe that this is needed, right? Because I personally found myself in many situations where I don't have the support of a coach, for example, to be like, okay, like I recognize that I'm in this situation, but it's hard to see what the path out is because I'm so in it, right? And there's a lot of emotions, and sometimes we have to like walk through it. So I remember we've been blessed to be able to afford some of these coaches. There's some coaches that we still cannot afford, right? And we're working really hard to get there. But like for those people that are starting, more than likely they're not going to be able to have that. So what do you recommend? And feel free to plug you and everything in here, because like please do. But also, what do you recommend for those that might not be able to, that might look at a coach and they're like, oh man, like this is like a significant investment that maybe I cannot afford for X reason, right? And that's okay, right? What can they do on their own to snap out of this and take action, right? And to get to a level where they can actually go and hire a coach. What will be your advice there?
The first is to get out of your head. So start creating a daily practice of journaling. And in that journaling, start asking the question, what do I want? I see this over and over again. People live their whole life doing what they think they're supposed to do and not actually taking a moment to ask, what do I want? Sometimes in the beginning, that question is even really uncomfortable. I know it was for me when I first started asking that question. It was like my answer was always, I don't know, because I had just tried so hard to be the woman I thought I was supposed to be, and I didn't know actually what I wanted. It's in there. The answer to that question is in there, by the way. Sometimes we'll need to start with the other question, which is, what do I not want? And maybe you can start there. But if you can get in the practice of getting out of your head and starting to answer this question, what do I want, and who do I need to be to create that? You can start answering those two questions. And again, in the beginning, as you're doing this, it's going to be awkward, uncomfortable, feel strange. You're going to be like, if anybody ever sees what I write on this paper, it's going to be so embarrassing. And let me just tell you, like I've gone through that too. And it's a huge part of how I've gotten to where that I am. So that's the first thing. That costs $0. Get out of your head, answer those two questions, do it every day. Because what happens is you start to grow your awareness around how you are creating your life, and you start to live in the moment, because you can't influence that creation process either in the past or in the future. You can only influence it in the now. So you need to start to grow your awareness. But as far as hiring a coach, I'll tell you, I work with a coach. I have worked with coaches for 5+ years now. And I learned very quickly that that voice that says I can't afford it is a lie. And what I've learned, investing in myself is the greatest investment I could ever make. And honestly, I can't afford to not work with a coach. I can't afford to not make that investment. And I don't have the luxury of time, energy, or money to not invest in myself. And I have, you know, as a CEO or an entrepreneur or creator of anything, you've got to be wise with your resources and you have to calculate an ROI. And hands down, your greatest ROI is going to be investing in you, specifically in your, what I call your operating system.
Yeah.
And growing up, we don't realize it. We're being programmed by our family, our friends, the media. We are being programmed. And, you know, that computer program, in a sense, has gotten you to where you are. But if you continue with that same operating system moving forward, it will destroy you. And you won't be able to get to the level that you want to. So you have to reprogram your mind, reprogram your thoughts, reprogram your attention, reprogram your focus, reprogram your questions that you're asking yourself repetitively in order to create the new future. And so investing in that operating system, greatest investment you could ever make. And look, I'm 6 figures a year plus to work with me one-on-one. And I know that's not in the realm of possibility for most people.
Yeah.
For my clients who can't afford it, it very quickly becomes not a big deal because the ROI is so significant. But I know that that's not reality for most people. And so I actually am creating programs for people who are earlier on.
We've heard.
I have something really cool that I'm sharing right now. It's called a CEO Brain Camp. And it's for entrepreneurs and leaders who have had success and who are now aware that their mindset is a significant influence in their level of success. And they want to understand how to reprogram. And they want to specifically get into this place of flow where life becomes so much more effortless and fun. And it's like what we were describing. It's just like, well, what can I dream of? And, you know, December 7th, I had no idea that I would be living with my family in a penthouse apartment in Puerto Rico. But I just kept following that curiosity and made that decision. And now I'm here. And so when you start to realize just how much influence you have in your life, you could start to really make those kinds of decisions confidently. So I have a CEO Brain Camp where I show people my flow system, how to get in this place of flow where you can make big moves in a way where it's fun, it's easy, it's exciting, and your magic really gets to be shining out there in the world. And then I even have other programs where I teach you how to align your business with your greatest purpose. It's really incredible what happens. For me, so all of those things that you've heard me have, the publicity, right? The Ellen Show, the Rachel A. Show, Today Show, on the cover of Entrepreneur Magazine. What people don't realize is those opportunities came to me. And it's because I understood how to create a magnetic brand and to really align my own personal life's purpose with the products and services that I was offering. And it's really attractive. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I do. I also have a program. It's $50, and that's helping people create clarity. It goes back to what I was teaching you earlier, which is you've got to learn how to tell the truth. And so my clarity course helps you tell the truth. And that's when you can start to make some really cool and exciting decisions in your life. So there's other ways that I help people. But ultimately, and by the way, like also, there's really incredible books out there, podcasts. And the last thing I would say is start listening to that inner voice. There's tremendous wisdom inside of you, and the world has told you to block it out. And when we block it out, the more we block out that inner wisdom, the like more that volume turns down. And if you can start to listen and to pay attention to that inner voice, it's that the volume on that inner voice starts to grow, and your faith and trust in that inner voice begins to grow. And you can start doing things like my client did today, made the decision to separate from his business partner and to move forward into the dark. And he doesn't know what's going to happen on the other side of that. And at the same time, he has tremendous faith that there's something on the other side of that he just can't see right now.
Yeah.
And he's willing to make the choice and the decision and move forward because he wants that.
Yeah. By the way, we have some audience questions here. Is she having any guest speakers in the course? Spot on. Love her. Yes, absolutely. So are you having any guest speakers in the course?
Inside the course? So the CEO Brain Camp, I think is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's primarily me. And it's because there's some really foundational principles that you need to understand. I really feel like the best decisions for your business come through you, not through me or anybody else. I really feel like as you are the creator of your business, you have this unique authority to make those decisions. And so my job as a coach is to get you into a place of alignment where you can hear that inner voice and you can really trust and have faith in that wisdom and then take the actions that you need to according to that. I mean, I'm open to having guests, but primarily the purpose of it is to help you in your business to ultimately have fun and live the life that you've always dreamed of. And so I'm helping you create that operating system that allows you to do that.
But by the way,
I should tell you.
Tell us.
The purpose of this, specifically the CEO Brain Camp, I've seen this over and over again with my one-on-one clients. I help them identify targets. And so I'm helping you identify 3 specific targets that you want to hit over the next 3 months. And that's what we're doing inside of the CEO Brain Camp. And I can guarantee you, if you show up to the calls and you do what I'm teaching you, you will knock it out of the park. And all 3 of those things will be accomplished within 3 months.
Yeah. But by the way, we've seen and we've heard the stories with Josh and Catherine. Like, huge shout out to them too, because we do love them. And Catherine has this incredible story where she made the choice to go with you as a coach. And she was like bawling her eyes out.
I remember this story. Yeah.
And it was so emotional. But the good part is, like, it changed everything for her, right? So this is why I also wanted to ask that question, because there might be some people that might not have access to something like that. But at the end of the day, like for us, the decision to invest in our first coach, it was a $25,000 payment of money that we did not have. You know, it was like, put here for the credit card and we'll see what's up. And that changed everything. And we're like, wow, like, it was really scary. So I just wanted to share on that. Thank you so much for sharing all those resources, right? Because, from $0 to 50 to then the course, and then, hopefully the one-on-ones, hopefully we can help some people out there. So thank you, Katie, so much for the show. It's so fun. Last question, because this is going to have to be like a regular occurrence in Content is Profit. Like, every, 2 months or so.
We need a round 2 for sure. Before we ask the last question, now I know what Josh meant. I was listening to his show with you, and he said, she said that she's not going to tell me what I need to do or how I need to do it. And he's like, I was trying to trick her so she could tell me and whatnot. And I'm like, now I understand, because you teach people how to take choices, right? In the now.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you get it. Yes, that's what I do. I teach you how to make decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much.
Katie, you share a little bit that you were a little introvert, like your superpower was invisibility, right? And now you're in front of a camera, you have your own show, you publish, like you're out there sharing your message, right? Like, where would you be if you didn't publish?
Oh my gosh. That almost moves me to tears. It's so sad. I would be exactly as I was 20 years ago. And it's not that she was a bad person, but I would be very stagnant in my life. And putting a camera in front of me and being willing to share my unique perspective on life and business and the world, it stretches you and it puts me into that place of discomfort, right? And so if I was not publishing, I would be the same woman that I was 20 years ago. And again, it's not that she was a bad woman, but I kind of like who I am today. And making that decision to publish and produce content and put my voice out into the world, in a sense, it's a vehicle for me to create that future woman that I envision, right? It becomes the vehicle where I can create her into my reality.
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Every episode we ask that question, and the answer is like they just get better and better because there's people that it did change for us. Like, and we don't know where we do know where we're gonna go because the vision we're grabbing them, we're like becoming that person. We are that person. I'm like reframing my own language here. We are that person. And when we decided to publish, everything changed for the better. So thank you for sharing everything. Thank you for taking it. Where can people connect with you? Where can people find you if they want to reach out and learn more about you?
I'm really active on Instagram, katie.live. You can go to my website and hear a little bit more of my story and how I can help you on katierichardson.com. Send me a DM in Instagram. I love hearing from people and just kind of cheering you on and hearing your story. So, and I've got a free audio training in my Instagram bio. And if you want to apply for the CEO Brain Camp, there's an application process, and that is also in my Instagram bio.
So awesome.
Awesome. Just saying, I'm listening to that audio right now. I'm on like minute 10. So as soon as you said remove all the noise, right? I was like, okay, I need to pause it because I was like driving. I was like, I'm going to give it the space that this deserves so I can actually give it all my attention.
Yes. Katie, anything else you want to add before we head out?
Yeah. The other thing I want to say is this. This is the last thing. As somebody who has been through the process of starting from zero, not having funding, not having investors, believing that I was invisible and feeling like, I don't know if I really even have anything to give in this world. I just want you to know that there are a lot of moments when you're in that place where it's hard and you are tempted to wave the white flag and be like, look, I'm just going to live the smaller, easier life because it's comfortable. And I want you to know it's tempting to do that. But I also want you to know that in those moments of doubt and failure, when you don't believe in yourself, this woman right here, Katie Richardson in Puerto Rico, I believe in you. And so when you're in those moments of doubt and fear and failure, and you can't lean on yourself, you can lean on me. Lean on me because I believe in you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Virtual hug.
Give the applause.
I was just like virtual hugging, man. Come on. This is so good. Yes. Katie, extremely thankful of our conversation today. What a great way to, end the week, start the weekend. And wow. I have no words. I'm just going to have to re-listen to this. This is going to be on repeat on my phone for sure, as I hope for many of our listeners too, because it's helped me tremendously.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katie. I'm just going to say round 2 live from Puerto Rico. That's what I'm saying.
All right, guys, with that said,
thank you guys. Thanks, Luis and FONZI.
Yeah, absolutely. Go listen to the show on your favorite platform and on social media at BIZBROS. Go.
That is right, guys. And if Katie today helped you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.